Manx Radio Sport, driven by Rex Motor Company.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard here, and as ever, I hope you've had a wonderful week so far. Coming up tonight, this Sunday sees the return of the Manx Grand Prix for the first time since 2019. We hear from the organisers as well as the double winner of the races last time out. In football, a fierce test awaits FC Isle of Man tomorrow as they start a busy schedule of 4 away games in 10 days. And in athletics, it's the finale of the No Rest for the Wicked series tonight. We hear how the event has unfolded over the last week. That is all to come this evening. So, kicking things off tonight, we're now less than 48 hours away from the return of the Manx Grand Prix on the Snaefell Mountain Course. The racing festival takes place from this Sunday through until the Bank Holiday Monday on the 29th of August. There is also a new shorter 9-day schedule and new regulations for machines and the running of the event to consider after the 3-year absence. So, how are those behind it feeling about the MGP finally getting a chance to return? I spoke to Chair of the Manx Motorcycle Club, John McBride.
Well, I think it's marvellous. I mean, we've had a few ups and downs over the past 3 years trying to make sure that we do get it back in its correct format. There have been changes where, it's not necessarily to everybody's liking, but, at least we do have the Manx Grand Prix and we have the classics back with under the Manx Grand Prix umbrella, which is a phenomenal thing, really. We've got a great entry for the races and we're certain that this is going to be a great weekend of racing, which, although condensed into the weekend, a lot of people will appreciate that, and it's going to be better for the public, probably better for the marshals as well. Really, not so much a time drag on them and on the officials. So I think it's the first year. We'll have to see how it goes, but I think it's going to be marvellous.
After this enforced hiatus over the past couple of years, actually getting back into the rhythm of it, getting this whole event set up and the infrastructure that comes with it, how has the preparation been getting everything together this time around?
Well, luckily, a lot of people involved have done it for a long time, and particularly with our club, Anne Convig, who's the race secretary, Heather and Lydia, who will be our new race secretary as Anne retires after this event. They're well versed in getting things together, and it's really been, Getting off the mark has been a bit slow because we did have big changes to the regulations, big changes to safety protocols, big changes to a lot of aspects of the event, which we've had to get used to. So it's come along nicely and actually clicked into place very well. So we're there, we're ready to go.
Just taking a look at the lineup that's available this year, and no surprises really, I guess. It's a star-studded lineup, isn't it?
It is, particularly in the classic races. We do have John McGuinness again and Michael Dunlop and a lot of TT stars, local TT star. Nathan Harrison is riding. He should show well. And looking through the Manx Grand Prix classes, we've got some great riders and some great newcomers. I think it's probably the best newcomer lineup for quality that we've ever had. Although there's only 20 newcomers, they're all of a very, very good quality, and a lot of them are going to make good TT riders in the future, and many from far-flung places, on the continent and this sort of thing. So we're looking forward to the event.
You mentioned newcomer numbers there being good, and it's something that we saw this year with the likes of the Southern 100 as well. They had a good newcomer lineup separately as well. So even with that enforced break that's happened over the last couple of years, the interest and passion, although probably not surprising to many, is still great, isn't it?
It is, yes. The event, I think, is now probably going to go from strength to strength. Probably on a different tack to what many people are used to, but I think it will go from strength to strength, and it will become more and more a feeder for the TT, and people realise that. In fact, one newcomer who I was talking to when we had our newcomers weekend, he was being pressurised to do the TT by his sponsors more than anything. And he said it would have been so much easier to get sponsorship to do the TT, but I wanted to do the Manx Grand Prix. And I said, well, I apologise that there was no newcomers class. And he said that's not what he came for. He said he didn't want the pressure of having to go out and race in the newcomers because he would be expected to win. So he wants to just take a back seat, and he prefers to come in through the Manx Grand Prix and move on to the TT. And I think he probably will be a top TT star in future.
And that's one of the big things about the Manx Grand Prix. It's long been that platform, hasn't it, for potential future TT stars and being able to get used to the roads around here. And of course, it's a monster of a course to actually learn and get used to. Having that platform is so important for some of these riders going forward, especially if they are having their eyes maybe on the likes of the TT itself in X amount of years' time afterwards.
It is, yes. But for the last few years, we've run a very good newcomers program, and we do get them over, and we get them to know each other and know the instructors, and they get instruction in all aspects of the racing, including pit stops and machine preparation and this sort of thing. And you can actually see the scales fall from their eyes, and they really become confident. You can tell as the weekend goes on, they become more and more confident, and they understand what the racing's about, and you know who's going to make it and who isn't. And to be honest, not all riders have the ambition to want to go onto the TT. They want to try and do well at the Manx Grand Prix, and we have had riders move into the TT who, have maybe not quite been fast enough to figure in the results. So they some of them have actually come back to the Manx Grand Prix. But on the whole, I think we've certainly had some good people go up from the last few years, and hopefully this year will be another good year for that.
Manx Motorcycle Club Chair John McBride there, and sticking with the Manx Grand Prix, and 2019's junior and senior champion is among those heading back into the racing when it gets back underway. Manxman Nathan Harrison will be hoping to also follow up an impressive TT debut by making his mark again on the MGP meet. He won't be taking part in the classes which he won last time around. Instead, he'll be on board the classic machines. Manx Radio's William King caught up with Harrison this week to find out how preparations have been going.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've been racing at Fruxton British Superbikes at the weekend just gone, so I think there'll be a bit of a speed difference on what I'm going to be riding, but I've got two great bikes. I'm going to be on a 350 Honda, which is the SC Racing Quayside Tyres bike. Wayne, Dave and my dad have been there prepping that this week since we got back, and then I'm riding a classic superbike for the Greeno Racing team, which is probably one of the best bikes on the grid. I've seen it once and it's immaculate, so I think I'm in for a good couple of races.
So you've just come back from Thruxton, you did the Southern 100 and the TT as well. Do you think doing the short circuits is beneficial, has an impact on your road racing, or are they two completely different things?
No, I definitely think it helps with confidence, if you like, because obviously riding week in, week out on the bike that you're riding on the TT course definitely helped me at the Alaman TT. Obviously it's the best road race in the world, but it's one of the hardest road races in the world. So getting that time and being lucky enough for the sponsors I've got to go and do the British Championship around the roads has definitely helped me progress, gets you right up to speed. And then obviously the Southern 100, it just piggybacks up everything else, because obviously you've been at the Northwest, you've been at the TT, you've been at the British Championship, and then at that time of the year, if you've had a good run to there, you're full of confidence. So, and then now the classic, it'd be something a bit different for me. Obviously, I've rode a classic bike a couple of times, but I've not been on the classic superbike. The first time I ride that will be down Bray Hill on a Sunday afternoon. But it'll be more of a enjoyment and get more experience around the TT course, really.
What's that difference like then, riding on a classic bike? A
lot slower. I'll be able to watch the sunset going up the mountain mile, I think, whereas in TT I'm holding on for dear life, just a passenger. But no, it'll definitely be a different experience, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
And as we know, there's been a couple of changes this year. How are you feeling about riding on a bank holiday?
I think it's great. Obviously, all the races are combined, so it'll be good having the bank holiday weekend. Obviously, all the locals should be off. It'll hopefully attract some people over to watch over the weekend without having to take any time off work, including myself, which my dad will be happy about. And then, like you say, it'll create that bit of atmosphere, and it'll be good riding around and seeing lots of people on the hedges, hopefully.
Now, people won't see you if they look out for you in the non-classic races. Tell us a little bit about why that is.
So in 2019, when the Manx Grand Prix last run, I won the junior and senior race. And it's more of like a gentleman's agreement that you don't go back. Obviously, especially when you've done the TT, you can't go back. But so basically, because I won that in 2019, it's just the thing that you don't do. So that's why they let you come into the classic racing. So basically it gives other people a chance. So yeah, I think there's going to be a good couple of races in the Manx Grand Prix as well. There's some fast people, so that should provide some good racing.
And you're looking forward to it, and what you're hoping for in the classic races?
I think it's more of a race of nutrition, really. I think if if you look after the bike and keep it going and be consistent, I think you'll be somewhere near at the end, because obviously, as you know, a classic bike is a classic bike, so it's older and more fragile. So I think if you can kind of look after it and ride it nicely, if you like, I think hopefully you should be somewhere near at the end.
Who are the biggest competitors that you're up against?
Well, obviously there's the usual names. In the superbike class, there's obviously David Johnson, who won it the last time around, Michael, I think Lee Johnston. There's obviously a well-known TT names and like high-profile TT riders in it. So obviously, with me being quite new to the TT game, I'm just looking forward to hopefully being amongst them again and seeing if we can do anything. And then obviously on the little 350, I'm actually in like a 500 race, so the 350 is going to be down on a bit of speed, but like you say, you never know if them big 500s are going to carry on going. So I think I'm first 350 away, so it'll be, like you say, a bit of fun, and hopefully if I can keep it going, we can try and put a result in amongst the 500s.
Manx Radio Sport, driven by Rex Motor Company. Find your dream car by visiting rexmotorcompany.in today, or find us on Facebook.
Nathan Harrison chatting to William King there. Well, moving on to football, and from tomorrow, FC Isle of Man face the arduous test of 4 away games in 10 days in the NWCFL Premier Division, and starting that run off this Saturday will be a huge test for the Ravens. They travel to face Vauxhall Motors on the Wirral, and the Manx side's opponents have had a perfect start to their season with 4 wins from 4 games. FC Isle of Man manager Chris Bass spoke to me about the size of the challenge they face this weekend.
Yeah, Vauxhall Motors look a very strong side at the moment. They've got good form in the early part of the season, especially beating West Didsbury this week, and we all know how good West Didsbury can be on their day. So I think that's a fantastic result for Vauxhall Motors, and for us, we don't expect anything apart from really, really tough games.
Looking at the last 2 results, back-to-back wins, both 2-1 after that narrow opening day loss. What's been done differently in the last couple of games that's seen you actually getting the points you've been working for?
I think we're trying to basically try and keep the ball, and we've tried to do something different this year, keeping the ball on the floor a little bit more and moving it through the lines as quick as we can, trying to play 2-touch, 3-touch and keep the other team moving. It works okay, but it doesn't necessarily work for 90 minutes because it's a very difficult thing to ask of the players. But having won the last 2 games, I think we are improving slowly, but also on the other side of the coin, we could have easily lost those games. We could have gone 2-0 down in both of those games, and if you go 2-0 down in this league, I don't think you're coming back like we were last year. It's
a high standard, isn't it? But also it's important to look at the long-term picture in some ways, that this is still very much the very early stages of the season, isn't it? A lot can happen between now and the end.
Yeah, we've gone into this season, just on the basis of let's stay in the league, let's consolidate our position within the Premier League. Let's build a team that's going to be strong enough maybe to go up another level, which by doing that you're going to have to introduce younger players to the squad as we move forward. But it's the challenge that we took on, and here we are in the middle of it, and we've not had a bad start.
Well, especially if you look at the likes of the other teams that were promoted into the division, the likes of Bury AFC, West Didsbury and Chorlton, they're also seeming to find some aspects of this division challenging, as probably comes as no surprise.
Yeah, I think Bury lost a game this week. Didsbury lost a game this week. We lost the first game of the season. So we've all lost a game, and I expect to probably not do so well in a number of games this year. When you consider, I think it's Skelmersdale went up last year, I think something like that, and they dropped 41 points. So that's an awful lot of losses and draws and still get promoted. So it's about keeping trying to be as consistent as you can, really, and getting through from game to game.
We've talked about that previously, how intense the schedule is going to be this season. Looking particularly in the now, there's a couple of midweek games, that 4 away games in 10 days. How's the squad depth looking to cope with that at the moment?
I think the squad is it's okay. It's not at full tilt because there are a number of players that are still carrying knocks. In particular, we're missing Sean Doyle, and when you take out his 31 league goals last year, I think that's a lot to lose. You've got Daniel Simpson that's got a sore knee, Mikey Williams still recovering from a broken toe. So there are Sam Kane coming back from his injuries. So there is a lot to look forward to if they can get themselves fit. But at the same time, I've always said, when one door closes for a player, then another one opens for somebody else in the squad, just to show what they can do. Hopefully they come through and grab hold of the shirt and don't want to let go.
And we've covered this, not the fact of having a pre-season schedule, we've spoken previously about that, but also maybe that cup run toward the end of last season where a couple of other players were coming into the squad and showing their capabilities that maybe hadn't had the same sort of appearances in the league. The fact that you effectively started that process of bringing more of the squad into the system going into this season, has that helped overall?
Well, when you look at Ronan was in the cup run and he's now played a few games that in the league programme this year. So that's the sort of thing that we're looking for. We're always looking for every individual to improve and just keep pushing forward as much as they can. It's going to be very, very difficult. We're not stupid enough to think that we're going to finish in the top 2 or 3. I would be amazed if we finished up there. But if we finished, above halfway and consolidated our pitch and place in the league, then you couldn't be happier than that, really. And let's not forget the momentum that we had from that cup run and the actual crowds that we had. They were gaining momentum, but unfortunately we're not seeing that at the moment due to the summer holidays. But as the weather starts to turn and they're looking for something to do on a Saturday evening, I think those crowds will come back.
And looking again just to this weekend and Vauxhall Motors, what would you hope most of all from this game, knowing the challenge that's in front of you?
One thing I would expect, as I've always say, is our players to give everything and leave everything on the pitch. And if we do that, then hopefully we'll still be in the game in the last sort of like 5 to 10 minutes to be able to get a late winner. But on the other hand, they are a very, very good side. So I think we are going to be the team that's going to be having to graft extremely hard for the first 45 minutes, which is pretty much the norm with the teams that we've seen and their technical abilities. They all seem to have great midfielders or great strikers or a very commanding centre half. It's just going to be a difficult season for us, but we're looking forward to it. And if we can win that game, then that gives you self-confidence moving into the next 3 away games.
Manx Radio Sport, driven by Rex Motor Company. Find your dream car by visiting rexmotorcompany.in today or find us on Facebook.
And rounding things off tonight, it's been an exciting week once more in Manx Athletics as the No Rest for the Wicked series has been taking place across the last week. Tonight is the final event starting in Peel at 7 p.m. There have been impressive performances across the board, but going into this evening's final showdown, 2 individuals in particular have been asserting their dominance in the men's and women's half marathon leagues, as Dave Griffiths explains.
Yes, Corin Leeming is an outstanding athlete. Athletics actually isn't his main sport. He's primarily a triathlete, but clearly a very good runner as well. He's still young. He's still in the junior men's category, which is the under 20 category. He's won all 5 races so far, and I believe I was actually in touch with John Watterson from Isle of Man newspapers this morning, and we think, although we haven't checked, but if he wins tonight, it probably will be the first time since the league went to 6 events that anybody's achieved a clean sweep, and I think it would need I think the only way that Corin wouldn't win tonight is if maybe one of the top athletes like Ollie Lockley or someone turns up, but I don't know whether that's likely or not. But he certainly he's got a great lead at the head of the league.
I mean, naturally, with that sort of set of performances, he'll be making the headlines. But you've also been impressed by some of the other names that have been pushing up towards the top of the standings as well, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the other things this week is that we've got people who perhaps specialise in other disciplines in athletics who have been really impressive all week. Harry Wetherill, who's 3rd in the league at the moment, he's primarily a fell runner. We've got the parish walk specialist, Liam Parker, who is currently standing 7th in the league at the moment. And then in a couple of events, we've had Tom Partington, one of our leading race walkers. He had a run in the Killer Mile the other night. So yeah, it's really great to see. And one real standout performance I thought in the Ramsey 10K on Wednesday was Lucas Stennis, who's only just turned 15 years of age. He ran a time just outside 35 minutes, which is really, really impressive and just shows how promising he is.
Well, let's take a look at the women's half marathon standings, and it's almost a similar story in terms of dominance up at the top, isn't it, from one particular individual?
It is, yes, it is. Dawn Atherton has been the standout athlete. She's run really well, really consistently all week. She just looks like she's enjoying her running so much at the moment, which is great to see. A slight difference in the women's league compared with the men's one, because Dawn, although she's well clear in the league, she hasn't actually won any of the individual races. I think in the women's races, we've had quite a number of athletes who have done perhaps one-off races or turned up and done 2 or 3 races. In fact, I think we should maybe give the winners a mention, because in the half marathon, it was visiting athlete Carmel Edwards who won down in Ramsey. Hannah Moore, who's really improved over the last year or so. She's had 2 wins in the Peel Hill race and the Killer Mile. And Becky Pate has also had 2 wins. She won the 10K race in Ramsey and the Foxdale 5 last night. So it's good to see the honours being shared around. But certainly in terms of the league as a whole, Dawn is well clear. I think she's got about 9 minutes in hand on Joanne Sharder, who's also run really well at the moment. But yeah, if Dawn does win, it'll be well deserved.
Speaking of some of the younger competitors, you mentioned Lucas Stennett there in the Ramsey 10K, but also in the Killer Mile we saw some of the younger female competitors as well putting in some good times as well, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right. We had I think even in under 11, I think Poppy Clayton, young Manx Harriers athlete, she was well up in the standings. Can't remember exactly where she finished, but she was well up. And her elder sister Abby, who's an under 13, was a little bit ahead of her. And yeah, there were some of the young boys as well. They were well up the standings. The Killer Mile was great because it was open to athletes from 9 years of age upwards. So obviously, it was a rare chance for them to compete against the seniors, and yeah, they did really, really well.
Let's take a look at the marathon standings. Obviously, a smaller table definitely compared to the half marathon standings, but again, one particular name sticking out at the moment at the top quite prominently.
Yes, Mike Garrett is sort of known in Manx athletics as being completely ageless. He just never seems to change from one year, one decade to the next. He never looks any different, Mike. Never slows down. He's actually in the 50 to 54 category. He's absolutely dominated. He ran a 2-hour 56 marathon on Sunday, which in extremely hot conditions was a tremendous run, and it doesn't seem to have affected him at all. He's been running really strongly in every event this week, and I'm sure it'll be no different tonight. He's about 14 minutes clear of Paul Jennings, who is not an athlete I know particularly well, but he's really impressed me this week. He's done very well indeed, and it's good to see different names coming to the fore. But yeah, Mike's been absolutely outstanding all week.
Manx Radio Sport, driven by Rex Motor Company. Find your dream car by visiting rexmotorcompany.in today or find us on Facebook.
Well, that's all the time we have on Friday Sport Preview this evening. Many thanks to my guests this week, John McBride, Nathan Harrison, Chris Bass and Dave Griffiths there. So have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and have a wonderful weekend as well. So until next time, bye for now.